Hi there, I'm Lisa Arana and welcome to another Assemble This video. I have a jam-packed video for you today with 5 different card layouts, which is perfect for a set of gift cards to give away, especially for Christmas this time of year. We're looking for ideas for homemade gifts. I am featuring the Wonderful and Simple Things stamp set from Unity Stamp Company. I just love the bird and butterfly in this kit. They're just perfect focal images for your cards and so many different sentiments included for lots of occasions. I have a bunch of images and sentiments pre-stamped on these panels and ready to go. All I did is take a sheet of cardstock and I trimmed it down in half at 4 1/4, and then each of those halves I trimmed down to about 3 1/2 depending on the image. So the panels are about 3 1/2 by 4 1/4 in both craft and white cardstock because I wasn't sure which one I would like for each design. And then I'm just using 5 of those today, so the rest I will put in my stash so I can grab and use later. I just love having these panels. They're just really easy to work with, and it's a great way to be able to make a bunch of different cards using the same stamp set or a mix if you wanted to go that route. So my panels are all ready to go. I also have a bunch of cardstock fronts, an A2 size card, and then I just trimmed down some craft cardstock fronts just in case I needed those. Again, I didn't really have a plan when I started this video, but I knew I needed all of those supplies. The other thing I did is grab a stack of pattern paper that I knew coordinated. They're all from the same paper pack, so I know that they all work together. And that was easy to kind of grab from, see which papers work together, and then that helped with the planning of each of these cards as I went along. So I grabbed 2 pattern papers that I really liked, a card base, and I'm just going to cover this card base in this subtle pattern paper. And then once I had that glued down, I just trimmed it down to fit the front of my card. Next, I grabbed this pretty die and I cut the gold and craft pattern paper. I like to put a busier piece of paper next to a more subtle pattern. That way your eye doesn't get too crazy trying to figure out what to look at. Since the die had some rounded curves to it, I grabbed my corner chomper and I just rounded the edges of that panel. Added a bit of string to the bottom of the die cut and then tied a sweet little bow. And then I just glued that directly down to my card front. I'm trying to keep the layers to a minimum, so I'm trying to only pop up maybe 1 layer. That way they're easy to be mailed. Especially if you're giving these away, I'm expecting that the other person doesn't want a lot of bulk when they're trying to give these cards away, so that's why I'm trying to keep my layers to a minimum. So that finished card number 1, super easy, so let's move on to card number 2. This time I have a little bit of color with a pink cardstock and some gold dot embossing. I'm going to layer down some vellum, I think, and I kind of like that layout. So let's just go ahead and adhere this down. I like to hide my adhesive for vellum behind something else, so I just glued down a strip just to kind of keep it in place. And then I'm going to glue down my mat, add my foam adhesive, and pop up this center panel. And then I'm just going to trim off the vellum. You could wrap it around to the back, but I already put this down onto my card front, so I didn't have a way to wrap it around, so that's fine. I just cut down the sides. And that finished card number 2. Moving on to card number 3, I'm going to grab a rectangular die and those 2 pattern papers and trim those down. I just love layering rectangles like that. I covered my card base in that doily pattern paper And then I'm just going to glue these down directly onto the card front, kind of at a wonky angle. And then I'll lift those edges so they have a little bit of interest. I thought about adding some string. I wasn't really sure if I liked the black or the neutral color. In the end, I went with the neutral color just because I don't have a lot of black going on and I didn't like the stark contrast, so I went with the natural string instead. Just seemed softer and went with the card a little bit better. But the black looked good too, so either one would have been a nice addition. So I just tied that string around 3 times, added a bow, and then I'm going to glue those panels directly down to my card front. Then I popped up that center panel, tucked it in by the bow, and that finished card number 3. Moving on to card number 4, I have this striped gold and white pattern paper. I'm just going to add a strip to the bottom of that card, and then I have this fun, they're like photo frames, so I trimmed that down and I added some foam adhesive to pop that up. That creates a little bit more interest. You could glue it directly down to the card front, but I just like the dimension that adds. It's just a little bit of something that's really subtle and it makes a big difference. So now I'm going to glue my panel down directly to the center of the card, but I want to make sure that it's the same level as that top cardstock, so I added a bit of foam adhesive to the bottom. And then we're just going to glue that down right into the middle there. Perfect. And then another bit of foam to that panel. So this card has a little bit more dimension, but it's still easily mailable. And then just to add a little bit of interest, I have this thin washi tape that I thought was really pretty. And I added a strip of the gold, and I liked that, but then I thought, well, why not add a second one? So I grabbed my stash and added a little bit more black to the card. So I have this black and gold heart strip of washi tape as well. So I added that right below. Just kind of helps ground the image and again add a little bit something more to the card for embellishment. And card number 5, we're back to the pink. I like this pattern. It was real subtle but pretty. I trimmed that down with a die cut and I'm just going to glue that directly down to my card front again. I'm using the same mat to mat my bird panel. And I like the idea of kind of sliding that mat up to the top of my card. Just creates a little bit of interest from the different levels of the die cuts. So I'm going to glue that directly down to my card front on top of that die cut panel and then pop up my center bird panel. And then one last embellishment, going to grab some pink Nuvo drops and just add 2 or 3 to the top and then 2 to the bottom. Again, just adds a little bit of something to the card to finish it off. It's kind of pretty and shiny and just a little bit more dimension. So here are the finished cards. This first one with the die cut panel and the bit of string. The combo of the two just makes for a pretty card. It's simple and it's elegant and easy to recreate. Card number 2 has the pink and the gold, which I really love, and that strip of vellum is just a pretty addition and something to add to the design element of this card. For this card we have lots of layers going on, lots of pattern paper, but they're subtle enough that your eye doesn't get overwhelmed with all the different patterns. And then just a little bit of string to finish everything off. For this one, I really love the layered of that frame pattern paper over the stripes. Just adds a little bit of dimension, and then the little bit of washi tape just kind of finishes everything off for the embellishment part. And then our final card, I just love the pink and the black and the little bit of Nouveau drops. This is just a sweet card, super simple, but perfect for mailing and really easy to recreate. So that is all of our cards. 5 cards for easy inspiration to create for a gift set to give away for this Christmas. I'll have all the supplies linked in the description of this video. If you have any questions or sweet comment, post below. Thank you so much for watching. I sure hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you again soon for another video.